So the film begins with a priest. He has lost his true faith in God. When his son was born, despite numerous prayers, God didn't heal him. Doctors treated him. Therefore, his belief in God shifted from a belief in science to a belief in God. Now that he had lost his belief in God, he also lost his belief in the devil and all paranormal phenomena. He began to believe that devils and the like don't exist in this world. They're just fabrications created by people. People suffer from some mental illness or another, and they attribute it to the devil. It turns out that Cotton Marcus was also the son of the most senior priest. That's why many people believed so strongly in Cotton Marcus's exorcism. He would perform fake exorcisms on everyone, convincing them that he had performed them and expelled the devil from within them. Despite these fake exorcisms, people were healed, and each time Cotton's belief in himself grew stronger, believing he was completely cured. There was no devil here, and despite his fake exorcisms, he still charged exorbitant fees. He had, in fact, treated them. Whether it was the devil or their minds, time passed, and Marcus was now tired of it all. Although his wife supported him in everything, he was determined not to do anything like this again. During this time, he met two filmmakers named Aris and Danny. They wanted to make a documentary on exorcisms and other such things. And here, Cotton Marcus tells them all that there's no such thing as a devil, and that exorcism doesn't exist anywhere. It's just a matter of people's minds. I, too, in the name of exorcism, just convince people that the devil has been driven out of them, and people get healed. However, he now wants to give up all this, and before he does, he wants to give everyone the message that all these things are fake. They should stop believing in them. Therefore, he agrees to make a documentary and also agrees to perform another exorcism, so that by making a video of that fake exorcism, everyone can be convinced. Having assembled his team, Cotton sets off for a village where a farmer has called him to perform an exorcism on his daughter, Nell. Along the way, he gathers a lot of information about the village. He discovers a strange truth. Many people belong to a strange cult that worships the devil and performs numerous rituals for him. They even kill children and humans as sacrifices to appease the demon. Cotton, though initially unconvinced, moves on. He meets a boy and asks for Neil's address. Upon learning that Cotton is a priest, he starts pelting his car with stones, a move that strikes Cotton as quite strange. Shortly after, they reach the farmer's house, where Cotton discovers that the child who threw stones at him is none other than the farmer's son and Neil's brother. Cotton, however, ignores the boy and begins to listen to the farmer's words. The farmer, who had been telling them that his daughter had been behaving strangely for the past several days, even killing his horse and one of his hens. He then takes them home and shows them several of Nell's clothes, which were completely covered in blood. However, at this point, they see that Nell was completely normal. After a while, Cotton speaks with Nell. Nell was a 16-year-old girl who, it turns out, had recently lost her mother, which had caused her to be extremely disturbed. Cotton asks her if she killed the horse or anything else, but the girl denies it, saying, even if I did, I don't remember. Nell then takes him to her room and shows him several paintings. Among these paintings, she also painted a painting of Mary, a Jewish queen whom the Jews consider the Messiah. After this, Cotton talks to the farmer and gathers a lot of information about his wife's death. Then, as he heads to his car to get some items for the exorcism, he meets the farmer's son, who tells him, "I don't want you to stay here and perform exorcisms." He explains the reason. He believes his sister is perfectly fine and doesn't need an exorcism. Cotton thought so too, but he couldn't have said it before all the drama. So he laughs and goes inside. After bringing his things inside, he begins the exorcism and also gets a tub of water. He places Nell's feet in the tub and then asks everyone to close their eyes so he can say some prayers. In reality, he wasn't praying, but rather pouring something into the water, and Nell's brother witnessed it. He laughs and leaves. When everyone else opens their eyes, Cotton shows how the water is boiling, as if a chemical reaction was taking place. But Cotton pretends it's due to demonic powers. Here, Cotton tells everyone that the girl is possessed by a demon named Elm, and that he needs to go to the car to get some more supplies for a thought system. He had come out to a soul to smoke a cigarette. There, the boy meets him again and says, "I have no problem with you now. You can do whatever you want because I've seen you're a fake priest and you were faking the exorcism here." This was the first time someone had caught Cotton's lie. Alarmed, the boy says, "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about you." He then takes a tape recorder and some other items and enters the room. He sets up the room, calls Nell in, and then starts acting as if he's performing an exorcism, with the demon repeatedly attacking him. After which, he fights the demon himself. He saved Nell and completed her exorcism. It was all an act, but this act convinced the child and his father that the demon had been exorcised from their bodies. He then collected his fee and left. They originally intended to return home, but it became dark on the way. Due to the darkness, they decided to stay at a hotel. Khan was very happy today, having earned a lot of money. They all went to sleep. But suddenly, in the night, they woke up to a strange noise, and shockingly, they saw Nell lying on her bed in their room. However, the door was closed, and Nell couldn't have known the address of their hotel. It was truly terrifying, and now Cotton was also frightened. Meanwhile, they noticed Nell's condition worsening. She started vomiting, and they took her to the hospital. Upon arrival, it turns out nothing serious had happened. She had simply vomited for no apparent reason. At the hospital, Cotton calls her father, who questions him about why his exorcism had no effect on his daughter. Cotton explains that his daughter needs a doctor, not an exorcism. Hearing this, Farmer Cotton becomes furious and says, "I don't trust doctors. They couldn't save my wife." This was a case similar to Cotton's, but in stark contrast. While Cotton believed in doctors and science, this man believed in God. Understanding the situation, Cotton quietly leaves and goes to the local priest. He explains to the priest how Nell needs a doctor, but her father refuses to accept this. He tells the priest, maybe if you tell him, he'll listen. But here he tells priest, "I don't think Nell's dad will believe anything. because he and I have discussed this matter many times. But he no longer believes in doctors. Meanwhile, we are again shown Annel, whom his father is now trying to control. When Cotton arrives, he finds his father forcibly locking him in a room and Nell's brother injured. Nell's father explains that Nell attacked him with a knife while he was playing with his brother. They quickly try to take the child to the hospital, and at that moment, the child hands Cotton a piece of paper that reads, "Don't leave my sister alone with my dad." Horrified, Cotton quickly goes to Nell with his documentary team and questions her about her father's behavior. Does he torture her? Does he scold her or beat her? But Nell replies that nothing like that. "My dad loves me very much." After putting Nell to sleep, they leave and suddenly hear a crying sound coming from Nell's room. It was the sound of a baby crying. It turns out that Nell was imitating the baby's crying sound in the bathroom, submerging a pail in water as if trying to drown a child. With great difficulty, they managed to restrain Nell and bring her to her room to sleep. There, they noticed that Nell had also painted a painting depicting a dead cat. Meanwhile, Cotton, who had left his recorder behind, picks it up and starts listening to the recording. He hears Nell speaking to someone in Latin, but Nell doesn't speak Latin. So how could she be speaking? This worries even Aras and Denny. For now, they sleep in the house, as Nell's brother had told them not to leave his sister alone. In the middle of the night, Nell wakes up again and steals their camera. She goes down to the basement and attacks Kat with the same camera, ripping her entire body apart. Blood and gore splatter everywhere, killing Kat. The camera they used to record the entire documentary also shatters and destroys it. All the documentary footage is lost. After all this, she came to Cotton to kill him. But right at the cut, Cotton woke up. He somehow overpowered Nell and took her to her room. When they looked around, they couldn't find their camera. When they went downstairs to look for it, they found Kat, horribly dead. Disturbed, they realized that this time, Kat had died exactly the way Nell had depicted her in the painting. They now also consider the paintings with the cat. In one painting, he depicted Cotton holding a cross and a large fire burning in front of him. In another, he depicted Arsh and Denny, the filmmakers, lying on the side with their throats slit. Since they had noticed that every painting Neil painted was completed in the same way, Arsh and Denny became extremely frightened and threatened to leave immediately. Cotton told them, "I told you, these devil possessions and exorcisms don't exist, and I'm sure Nell killed that cat herself. So, rest and sleep." While they were talking, they again heard strange noises coming from Nell's room. This time, Nell was speaking to someone in the Latin language. When they opened the room to check who she was talking to, they found no one there. They lock the room, and as they do so, Nell gives Cotton a strange, devious smile. Just then, they receive a voicemail from the hospital, informing them that the tests they had done on Nell yesterday had come back, revealing that Nell was pregnant. Even though she was an underage girl, how could this be possible? The first thing that comes to Cotton's mind is that her father must have done all this, as his son had told him not to leave her alone with her. Cotton immediately decides to confront her father about it, but her father explains that Cotton is still a virgin. Nothing has ever happened to her that could have caused her to have a child. He says that some demon must have done this to her so that the Antichrist, a great evil, could come into this world. Hearing this, Cotton thinks the man has gone mad and yells at him. The man also tells Cotton to get out of here. You guys couldn't cure my daughter, and now I'll fight my daughter's demon myself. After saying this, he quickly leaves and goes to his wife's grave, where he sits down and begins praying. Meanwhile, strange noises begin to come from Nell's room. Cotton tells Iris and Danny, I think her dad will kill her. That's why we should take her and leave. When they open the door to take Nell, the lights suddenly go out, and they see Nell sitting on top of the wardrobe, a place where climbing up was impossible. Nell growls in a strange voice upon seeing them and suddenly jumps from above, trying to attack Cotton. But Cotton defends himself. Nell begins to move like an animal, using both her legs and feet. Her face clearly shows that she's truly possessed by a demon. As soon as her father arrives, seeing her in such a state, he immediately tries to kill her. But Cotton steps in and saves her, saying, Hold on, I'll perform a proper exorcism. This was Cotton's first time performing a proper exorcism in years, and he was having a hard time. As the exorcism progresses, the demon's control over Nell becomes more intense. The demon begins to manifest itself, causing immense pain. Her body begins to twist, and then Cotton asks her, Who are you? The demon says, A Blum. This was the same name Cotton had given everyone for the fake exorcism. Cotton asks the demon, Tell me, where is Nell? What did you do to her? He says that she's burning in the fires of hell, and soon you too will be. Cotton finds his words strange, so he resumes his exorcism and continues his pranks. But the demon tells him that if he remains silent for 10 seconds, he will leave Neil's body. Obeying him, he falls silent, and that was his biggest mistake. The demon was counting every second of his silence. He was also pounding on Neil's fingers, and with such force that Neil would break a finger every second. Seeing that Neil must be in pain, Cotton resumes his pranks. When he pranks her again, the demon laughs and asks her, Do you want the comfort of your body? He said all this in a strange language. Hearing this, Conan confirmed that this child was not possessed. If there was a demon inside him, it would know everything very well. But she was a child, that's why he misspoke. He realized that someone else must have done something terribly wrong to her, which has shaken his mind. Now, he starts talking as if he's talking to Nell, and in reality, Nell starts talking to him again. And at one point, we even feel that maybe she wasn't a posse at all. She was just staging it all. She talks a lot to Cotton, and Cotton goes out and tells her dad, Your daughter isn't a posse. She doesn't have a demon inside her. First, she couldn't bear the shock of her mother's death. And second, a boy who works outside is responsible for her condition. Neil's dad didn't believe Cotton. When he goes to ask his daughter about the same